Today in school, a guy hit another student over the head with a baseball bat because he stole a firework or two off of him. What is the absolute craziest crap to have ever happened in your school? We had a minor race riot. 8-10 black kids jumped 2 white metalheads in the parking lot. Well, the metalheads at our school were a serious minority and tended to stick together, so about 15-20 metalheads jumped in to help the victims, so more black kids jumped in. The really bad part was most people don't realize how well armed an 80s metalhead was just by the virtue of their clothing. The spiked belts and armbands started flying and about a dozen people went to the hospital. Race kerfuffle. When I was in school, a long while back, somebody heated test tube holders in the Bunsen burner until they were glowing red, then clipped them on somebody else's ear. Apparently you could smell it cooking. Nasty. Apparently you could smell it cooking. I weep for those who actually know the smell of cooking human flesh. That's fricked up. 2 kids at my school took bets on who would win their pre-planned fight. They hated each other, but made out like bandits. They took a portion of all bets and split it. The first time I read through this I thought you meant they literally made out. Was confused about the bandits part. At my high school there were a ton of fights. Lots of gang activity and lots of hick kids who didn't take that crap. One time a gangster started some crap with one of the aforementioned hicks and they get into it in the hall. Long story short, hick kid gets gangster on the ground, starts kicking the crap out of him and manages a kick to the gangster's temple with his steel-toed boots and killed him. In another fight, one kid slammed another kid's head into a wall with those decorative glass blocks and killed him. In high school, my buddy stole a dead baby pig fetus from science class and threw it on the hood of someone's car because they parked in his spot more than once. The pig, however, was not alone. He also left a sign that said "Don't pork here" to justify his insanity. At lunch in high school, 2 nerdy kids got into a fist fight over a Twinkie. Yes, a Twinkie. Full on fisticuffs, grappling, everything. This was considered to be more crazy than rival gang members being stabbed or an interracial fight, so the word spread like wildfire around the school. At graduation 2 years later, there were a few Twinkies thrown up on the stage when each of the 2 guys walked across. The student body about fell over laughing while the parents were confused. I heard a story from one of my friends about this guy everybody called Tree or some such. He liked Xanax. He really liked Xanax. Well, he takes some at school. Then he forgets if he took some, so he takes some more. Then he forgets if he took some, so he takes some more. Pretty soon he's taping Xanax pills to his leg under his pants in the middle of class, trying to hide them. He keeps to himself and manages to do okay. Until 4 hours later, he's crawling slowly on the ground between classes, measuring each step carefully to prevent himself from falling over. Teacher looks down at him, asks what he's doing. I forgot how to walk. He is promptly taken out of the school on a stretcher, out those front doors never to be seen again. TLDR. Guy takes Xanax and becomes salamander. I also remember one story where some girl smoked him in a bathroom, but aside from the part where she had a seizure in class I hardly heard anything else about it. My high school had a resident prostitute. He gave head behind the dumpsters for $15. Not even joking. He works for Butters, I'm guessing. Students in my very small, private high school had parking assigned by grade. A junior girl in my class parked in the senior lot. 2 senior guys took one of the doors off her car and brought it into the class she was in. They set it down and said, "Don't park in the senior lot," and left. My brother went into the computer teacher's room with some others and wiped every hard drive because the teacher called their class a bunch of morons. He also stole the principal's chair and replaced it with a kindergarten chair. They also took all the lights and computers out of the library. Also stole the teacher's overhead projector so he would celebrate his birthday. That was an interesting day full of fun announcements. Would whoever put the Vaseline on the doorknobs please come and remove it immediately. A friend of mine on the football team took a crap in the showers while we were in there after practice, then kicked it all over the walls while yelling "poo poo, poo poo." It was terrifying. but hilarious in a way. I grew up in San Diego and my middle school was a mix of suburban white kids and kids that had escaped from Mexico late in their childhood. I saw several things I can never unsee. 1. Girl fight. Fight between two girls breaks out. One girl is clearly winning. She seals her victory by taking the other girl by the hair as she's laying on the ground and repeatedly slamming her head into the asphalt. 2. Dog beating. Waiting outside a classroom and see a stray dog wander into campus. Schools in SoCal are open campuses. Group of kids waiting in front of their ESL classroom beat the dog. Multiple kids just kicking the poor dog who is clearly starving and so confused. I was terrified to do anything and so thankful when campus security came rescued the poor pup. 3. 12 years old mom. Same classroom outside of the dog beating. Different day, girl comes in with a child. A 7th grade girl brought her newborn to show off. Father was the guy who led the dog beating, an 8th grader. School security intervened in both 1 and 2. But my god, I can never get those images out of my head. What the frick? That's horrible. In the weight room, one guy was defending himself against another guy. The guy heard rumors of the other guy trying to get with his woman. The dude that was defending himself clocked the other guy so hard in the face, it knocked him out. When he got back up, there was a turd on the floor. He literally got the crap knocked out of him. When the coach came and saw a turd on the floor, he said, "God damn it. Who crap on the floor?" and proceeded to pick it up with one of those stupid brown paper towels. What happened to crap boy, you ask? Well, needless to say, he didn't come to school the next day and was known as the guy that crap himself for the rest of his life. Those goddamn paper towels, they are useless. My freshman writing teacher told us that in kindergarten. His teacher held him down while 6 other kids beat the crap out of him. Freaking kindergartners. Kindergarten, FTFY. The calculus teacher at my high school was extremely strict and uppity. One person was using one of the Banty eyes he had borrowed from a friend. She saw this, took him outside of class, and screamed at him for over 7 minutes, culminating to walking over and tearing his nearly complete test and ripping it to shreds. She reported him to the administration for cheating, and then called his parents to tell them what a terrible person their kid was. How disrespectful and obnoxious he always was. He had a 4.0 plus maintained for all 4 years and never cheated nor disrupted class. In middle school, 2 guys decided to fight after school, and one of them lived in the apartments across the street. So they met up to fight, and the one who lived further away had shown up to the fight with a mini baseball bat. The guy who lived across the street said, "Hold on, I'll be right back," walked off. The first guy didn't chase him, but waited for him to come back. He did, with a golf club, and proceeded to hit the first guy in the head with it. 1 shot only, but 1 was enough. This was in the Austin, TX suburbs. I went to a white-collar middle-class non-urban community school in the 80s. I was kind of an innocent dork. One day at my locker I was grabbing books and looked next to me to see a kid sitting, leaning against his locker. He sniffed a pile of white powder off of a mirror. I was stunned and just said, "Did you just snort a line of coke?" with a wide-eyed expression on my face. He calmly said, "Nah, it was more like a pile." No time to cut lines. 8th grade. A kid whom everyone thought was gay, now 22 and he's been open about it for a few years, asked out the biggest strongest guy in school. The big guy proceeded to push the kid into a locker, punch him, push him on the ground and punch him more. Just because the gay kid asked him out. Man, I thought this was going to end with the big guy making out with the small gay guy. Talk about mood whiplash. Someone stole a military-grade smoke grenade and let it off on the last day. Police, ambulances and loads of army officials came apparently. I don't know if it's the absolute craziest, but we've already had 6 fights in our school over the election and it's only 3rd period. But then again, I am in a large high school in South Texas. Last year I was eating lunch outside my cafeteria with a few friends when 6 or 7 of the cutest puppies you have ever seen just ran towards us from the woods and played with us outside. We were petting them and playing fetch until the bell rang. When lunch was over they left, never to be heard from again. That's freaking crazy. I hope everybody was okay. Well, I guess it was when a senior threatened to have a school shooting, but he wrote about it on Facebook, So cops got to him while he was sleeping the day before. Oh Facebook. Sitting in math class when the teacher opens a drawer in his desk to get a dry erase marker. As soon as the drawer is opened, an absolutely freaking terrible stench fills the room. The teacher, male, screams like a little girl and literally falls out of his chair. Turns out someone had taken a crap in his desk. But it doesn't stop there. As if inspired by the lone desk shitter, a whole slew of kids start crapping in desks. I say a whole slew of kids because there is no way one person can crap in that many desks in that short span of time. By the next day, half the teachers in my school had turds in their desk drawers. By the end of the week, the principal was begging over the intercom for anyone with information to come forward. Over the weekend they hired a team of professional cleaners to sterilize the desks and hired a locksmith to place his locks on every desk drawer. Seems like a pretty legit plan. But a few weeks later a student stole the master key for all of the locks out of the janitor's office and the desk crapping returned full force. It died out after a month or so after they installed cameras. Craziest crap? A swarm of Asians jumping another student. It was like a Zug rush in real life. Kekekekekekek. I witnessed a teacher and a principal boot frick a grade 6 student. Mind you, this is when there was corporal punishment in schools. He was on the floor and taking kicks. Kids don't know how good they have it these days. Till boot frick is a thing. The craziest thing I saw happen in school was in 10th grade. There was a kid in my class, John, who was openly gay. One day, he said something like, "Hey, what's up?" to another student, Bob. Bob says, "Shut the frick up, F," and John just rolls his eyes and walks away. Bob didn't like that, I guess, because the next thing you know, he picks up a textbook and hurls it at John's head. There's like 3 guys penning Bob down and everyone is telling John to leave, go to the counselor, principal, go anywhere else because this guy just went full crazy and hey, we don't really want him attacking you anymore. It was very shocking, not because he was blatantly homophobic, but because it just came out of nowhere. I also saw a teacher pick up a student by his neck and pin him on the wall. It was during our 5-minute passing period. Everyone was around. I didn't hear what happened to make him do that, but everyone just stopped and stared at what was going on. I went to a school that was for dropouts, at-risk kids, probationers, and other court-ordered offenders. The school itself was a series of trailers connected by boardwalks. This was surrounded by privacy fences with security cameras at each post. There was one entrance exit, and it had a metal detector. We had a social science teacher named Mr. Frazier. He was a light-skinned black man that had a cadence kind of like Obama, except with a steward and a game leg. We affectionately called him Radio. As you could imagine, a school like mine had a large population of hood rats. The gangster kids at our school hated Mr. Frazier because he was an Oreo. One day a student ended up hitting him with a desk and he never came back. This was one of those old-fashioned desks, with the metal cubby hole underneath. This one I feel bad about. Our school was 6th 12th grade, so we had to deal with middle schoolers all the time. At one point we had this wiry, little white kid join. Let's just call him Justin. He must have been 11. Anyway, rumors started flying around as to why he was there. They say that he had been dosed on amphetamines by his addict parents and locked in a closet for a number of days. He never re-socialized and his grandmother wouldn't put him back in public school. Anyway, he looked up to me for some reason and would give me his Adderall prescription, so I tolerated him. I bullied him in a big brother kind of way, but stood up for him when others bullied him. One day we are all at PE, and he is kind of just walking around on the field. Close by, a large collection of hood rat kids are playing basketball. I was feeling mischievous and bored, so I picked up a nearby basketball and lobbed it at Justin. The ball hit him and he fell over. When he got up, he looked to the basketball court and yelled, "You fricking N." Dead quiet. Shirts start flying off. People are surrounding him and it looks as if he is about to get murdered. I run over, and with the help of a teacher, smooth things over. I got called to the office to tell them what I saw. I told them that I threw the ball, and that Justin didn't know. They let him off the hook, just made him apologize in front of the class, and I got 1 day of suspension. Crazy but school. Totally thought that story was going to end with Justin destroying everyone surrounding him Terminator style. kid held the whole school up during assembly. SWAT team was there. Bomb dogs. It was pretty intense. Turned out to be a realistic looking fake gun. Missed some school for it though, which was nice. We had a kid break a bottle over someone's head and stab them with it. We have had numerous lockdowns. Suwuru mena fights. One time I watched a guy jump onto a table and kick someone's face in. I watched two girls beat the crap out of another with master locks over a guy. The guy flirted with the girl that ended up nearly dying. So the GF of the guy and her friend beat her with master locks. Well, one time in school, this guy did the most bizarre crap ever. He was failing class throughout and suddenly, he started to get better grades. He apparently quit smoking and starting paying attention in class. Crazy crap I tell you. Freaking heck, that is horrific. Halloween. A 16-year-old girl, 5 months pregnant, comes to school for the first time in weeks dressed as the Playboy bunny. She asked me to move over while I was washing my hands in the bathroom so she could take a few mirror selfies. They were uploaded to Facebook later, along with her new cover photo, an ultrasound. My favorite comment so far has to be "I'm keeping it this time." This isn't as bad as the rest, but it's still pretty awesome. Someone hacked all of the computers, a good 500 computers, plus high-end security software plus actually easy reset hardware installed, plus 5 individual networks, and changed the boot screen to My Little Pony's GIFs. They are also randomized. They still haven't caught him. Pro. Alright, my high school was in a rather white, middle upper class area, so of course the parents thought we needed a security guy posted in the cafeteria at lunchtime. The guy the school got was this 6'5", 300 pounds man of pure unadulterated fat. This guy was rounder than our gravity well, bouncier than a trampoline, and ready to defend. Anyway, this one lunchtime, these two girls look like they are about to go at it, throwing catty comments and rearing claws. The one girl is walking away, but the other starts a running leap at her, quickly gaining speed. The guy just shifts in between them, intercepting the one girl. This is where his rotundness comes into play. She bounces off him so hard, and at such a weird trajectory that she goes through the library's floor-to-ceiling glass window pane. Library right next to cafeteria. Girl made it out with a few cuts, mostly from the glass on the ground, and guard got a round of applause from all of us eating. I'm glad he didn't get fired for it, since it wasn't his fault, and the girl's parents apparently paid for new glass. So happy ending. In my senior year of high school, some kid jumped another and bashed his head in with a piece of cinder block, or sidewalk, or a brick. The story changed as it was told. Pretty sure the kid survived, though. Don't know the full extent of the attack. I remember getting into my first hour class and there were kids who saw it freaking out about it. Fights were pretty common at my school. The year before I was heading to my art class and the hallways was ridiculously overcrowded. After a moment I saw a dean leading a student out and the student had blood dripping all down his face. Didn't think much of it until I had to do my assignment for art, drawing a part of the hallway, and the janitor was mopping up blood right where I was supposed to sit down. 1. Elementary school. This kid Bobby was not well liked. He had behavioral and learning issues. Well, one day one of these twin brothers, who were total douchebags, was taunting Bobby and stupidly called Bobby the N-word. Yeah, too far. Bobby snapped and started just crazy wailing on the guy. Not like an organized fight, but full out insane person dangerous flailing. He ended up punching the teacher that tried to break it up. They actually had to call the dare officer out to the playground, and I missed the whole thing because I didn't do my homework and was kept in at recess to finish it. Damn it. 2. High school. This tiny freshman in the Spanish 1 class across from my Spanish 3 class was apparently constantly getting abuse from this larger butthole kid. Taunts, thrown pencils, tripping him as he passed, etc. One day the small fry had had enough, and as soon as they both got into the hallway when class ended, he jumped his tormentor and proceeded to beat the ever-loving crap out of the larger kid. The best part? All the teachers in the hall either pretended not to see or B, pretended to be trying to push their way through the mass of students. The teachers only really moved to break it up when the 4 minutes in between classes was about to end. They also didn't drag anyone to the office for fighting. 3. High school, major chick fight in the cafeteria because apparently chick A talked trash about chick B's son. They had to be held apart by like 3 football players each. Chick B managed to slip out of the hold and ran over lunch tables, jumping over student seating, shrieking and dove at the other restrained girl, arms stretched out, fingers bent into claws. An attack right out of the comic books. Happened less than 2 weeks ago at my school. There's a really popular kid, let's call him Jack, who everybody knows, and he's a very likable dude. Funny, not a jerk, everyone's friend, basically. Not only that, but he's also doing really good in school and basically could go to whatever school he wanted. He was also a bit of a prankster, so he handcuffed a kid, let's call him Joe, to a bathroom stall. He was stuck there for half an hour. He freaking sued him for that. The worst part is that Jack's dad testified against his own son, calling him disrespectful. It was a guilty verdict. Now, Jack goes to a different school and everyone hates Joe. Back in 1999 I went to a school called Bryan Middle School, which was right next to the high school aptly named Bryan High School. One day 2 kids got into a fight and one of them was eventually knocked down. Turns out that the cafeteria floor is more dense than his skull was, as he died from massive head trauma. Crap got real that day. I think when I was 14 or so in school, a bee had landed on a large window in the classroom. Someone then proceeded to take his big, heavy binder and smash the bee with it. Not just the bee, but the window with it. Half the school heard it. Not my stories, but my psychology teachers, who now works volunteers with the K9 unit and used to work in a much worse area. One girl attacked another girl with a metal fork from the cafeteria, while the second girl responded by pulling a razor blade out of her cheek and slashing the heck out of the first girl's face. Apparently they were fighting because one of them was dating the other's boyfriend, who was cheating on both of them with a third girl. 2 male teachers had to forcibly pull the 2 of them apart. The gym teacher suffered massive cuts and slashes along his torso and forearms in the process. The first girl, the instigator, later sued the school because the staff didn't respond quickly enough to stop the fight and did a stint on daytime TV to pay for her facial reconstruction surgery. 2. A student in one of her classes was having a bad trip on LSD or PCP while in school, walked into her class, and attacked her. After she fought him off, locked him out of her classroom, and he cooled down in the hallway. He later explained that while on the drugs, he thought she was a demon. 2 separate incidents, but I remember once somebody emptied an entire can of mace into the school air ducts, so it spread throughout the lower floors. It wasn't burning awful, but I remember everyone coughing from it and getting to leave early. And one time someone just decided to take out a lighter between classes and set a bulletin board in the hall on fire. I once got institutionalized and suspended from school for having a website that spoke out against Christianity while living in the Bible Belt. Of course, this was back in 1998, before such an idea became so radical and before school shootings became so popular. Every morning in high school my bus was one of the first ones to arrive, giving me 20 minutes before I had to go to homeroom to eat a small breakfast. What did I eat for breakfast almost every morning? A bagel with butter. Now, you should know that at my school they put the butter and cream cheese, jelly, etc. out in the morning over ice, and it sits there all day. Despite my slight aversion to all things unclean, I think I'm pretty safe by eating my bagel in the mornings when they first set it out and not going near that crap for the rest of the day. One day the AP biology students were dissecting rats. It's pretty well known in my city that 90% of the kids in my high school were douchebagger shats with no consideration for anybody else. It would surprise me if they even realized that anybody else existed in their perfect worlds of BMWs and Oakley sunglasses. So, of course, there is drama on dissecting day. What's happened? Someone has managed to sneak a dead and preserved rat's tail out of the bio lab. Cool, I could really care less. What do they do with it? They put it in the mother fricking butter. I just couldn't bring myself to eat the butter after that. Freaking idiots, ruining my breakfast. We had multiple inappropriate teacher-student relationships, including a statutory sodomy charge against the softball coach. Ended up being quite true. And loads of fights averaging around 3 times a week. The one that stands out to me involved a guy cheating on his girlfriend who then decided to stab in the neck with a ballpoint pen. She hit an artery and nearly killed him in the cafeteria. Bonus story, a guy was running from the school police officer and accidentally dropped his crack pipe in front of the whole school during lunch. Some guy knew there was something a bit off about him, called another student a dong during class, even though the other student was sort of trolling him during the class discussion. The teacher said, "Al, I will not accept that sort of language in my classroom. Go talk to the director." Our school had a director, not a principal. Anyway, he stands up and starts flipping out about how he needs to stay in class and learn, and the teacher keeps telling him he needs to leave. The kid flips out and screams, "I'm not an animal. Stop treating me like an animal." Another kid in the class mutters, "Well, you're acting like one." The kid basically loses it, starts crying, and eventually gets led away by two teachers. We never saw him again. No joke, this is true. I went to a weird school. Advanced school, maybe, but weird. Al wasn't his real name, of course. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.